I love it so much. All I have is the background of other people's desks behind me.
No, I like it. It's nice. I've actually not used this background too much, so I'm kinda glad that I have, like, an excuse, right?
Yeah. Before we get started, how have you been?
Um, honestly, not great. Like I said, I figured out my boyfriend has been cheating on me, boyfriend of 2 years, like, met his family, his friends, his colleagues, met my mom, knows my friends, and it's like I won't bore you with the details, but it's some, like, Dateline shit. Like, it's not just, "Oh, I met a girl and I had to have her, we had a connection," and, like, no, like, there's a full on I've discovered 3 girls already. One of them's in the Philippines, one of them's local, one of them was a full on girlfriend, like, she and I went on the same dates, we got the same gifts, the things that she would want, like, to for him to, like, buy her, he would buy
Mhm.
for me, even though, like, they weren't things that I would actually want. Um, I I won't like I said, I won't bore you with the details, but my last few weeks have been spent playing investigator and piecing things together of how we've been gaslit, how we've been groomed to a degree, and
Mhm.
how and, like, he would send all of us the same text messages, like, all the same Instagram reels, the day-to-day stuff, like, "Oh, I went to the store and this lady looked at me funny," all that copy pasted across many women, and I uncovered a cohort of women from 2020 to 2023, there was 9 of them that discovered out that there were 9 of them because when his brother died, he texted all of them pictures of him on his deathbed, told all of them, like, "Oh, I have to go take care of my brother," but really he was with another girl, and
Mhm.
then he posted a GoFundMe after he died. He had the same heartbreaking conversation with all 9 of them, like, "My brother died, da, da, da." All the girls comforted him. They all donated to the GoFundMe. Some of their families donated to the GoFundMe, and they found each other through there, through the comments. And in that cohort, there was 3 main girlfriends, and they were helping him with his LinkedIn, with his networking, job applications. One would help him plan itineraries for trips, some would babysit his dog, and he had a Madonna whore complex. So the women that were white would get treated like whores, they would get treated like shit, and black and brown women would be afforded more like protection, more gifts, like more whatever.
Mm.
So I just figured out that for 2 years, I have been wasting my fluffy eggs on this man who was supposed to be moving to LA shortly here with me. So my world has kind of imploded a bit. So that's my 2 weeks.
You first of all, you're never boring me with the details, ever. Second of all, I'm so sorry that this happened to you. That shit's just not okay. I hate when people do, like, really fuck to people and they're just like, "Oh, this is okay. This" No, like, I've actually had a similar situation, but one that just lasted for a lot longer with, like, my high school sweetheart. And I stayed with him for a really long time because I was stupid and I thought we were, in love and whatever, and found out we were. I mean, we were young, but, like, it started with one girl and it would never be, like, just little cheating. It would be full-fledged on relationships.
Yes. And love bombing. Like my man cooked me breakfast. He planned stuff. He would drive me places. I would get gifts, little gifts all the time. He was real cheap, which I thought was like just different about him. But it's
Mhm.
because he's spreading his finances across all these bitches. So we're
Yeah.
getting BOGO deals. Like our Christmas presents, it's a BOGO sale. I'm like, so he's not even buying us shit we like, nothing like that. But
He's just
my
getting
man
whatever
had
he
all
can get.
yeah, but my man was supportive. He knew therapy speak. So, like, if I would start to get upset, he would be like, "Baby, it's me and you against the problem. Like, you don't need to, get this way." Cause I'm a little more like hood. Like, I grew up in a place where, you know what I'm saying? You kind of go in, and I'm trying to change that. So he knew that too. Like, that I was trying to go to therapy and like be a better communicator and like not pop off right away if I saw a hair or if I whatever. Like, I've been
Yeah.
trying to do better. And he knew that, and, like, he wrote me a letter, like, because I was in Chicago, he wrote
Mhm.
me a letter and, it's a beautiful letter. I would have fallen for it on my own, but because I had girls from the cohort of the previous cohort tell me, "Hey, when you try to leave, he's gonna
He's gonna
cry,
do
he's
all of
gonna
these
beg,
things.
he's gonna do the whole show, he's gonna write a letter, he's gonna whatever." So I already had their letters to compare them to, by the time he got here. By the time I figured out there was a girlfriend and a side chick, some girl in the Philippines reaches out, says, "Is this your man?" I'm like, "Yes, I took that picture on our Valentine's Day trip last year." And she said, "Really? He was extra horny that day. He was messaging me all day, sexting. I'm his girlfriend too. I've been spending money trying to get visas, trying to come to the US because he says he can't come to visit me in the Philippines because the
Yeah.
military won't give him clearance." I was like, "That's crazy." Retired from the military and lit earlier this year, or like earlier last year. So he could have gone to you by now. And the morning that I broke up with him, like, that I texted him breaking up, that was the morning he broke up with her and was like, "Hey, I've been holding this terrible secret. I'm so sorry. I have to break up with you because, my girlfriend doesn't deserve this. I have a girlfriend." And then he's like, "But, I want you to know that you're a beautiful person. Your family's so proud of you. If you ever get anxious, ground, rest, take deep breath, like psycho, take deep breaths." And then he's like, "You'll never hear from me again. I'm blocking you after this." And the girl's like, "What?" Like, going nuts. So that's when she reached out to me. So I'm like, "You got a bitch in the Philippines that you ain't never met?" And now I have a cohort of women saying, "Hey, he did this to 9 of us. Here's the timeline." Like, they gave me notes, sis. They gave me notes of like, "Here's the timelines." And I was like, "That's so funny. We met this day. He met Lily this day." By the time I met him, he already had a serious girlfriend. I just ain't have a clue in the world. And me and her have a lot of similarities. So yeah. So I feel like Boo Boo's a
But you
fool.
know what? I I promise you, I don't ever want you to feel like that. Like I made my decisions and stayed with someone who I knew was constantly cheating me in a relationship, and our like big ending was fucked up because he ended up like fucking one of my friends and they were in a relationship together and using me for no, when I we could compare notes.
Did you see the video that I posted? Like, it's gotten a lot of hits, and the girls are like, "You should tell your story." I'm like, "I want to, but let me finish what I have with these women first because it's been weeks of us exchanging stories." And it's like, "No way. You asked for matching plaid pajamas? He didn't buy them for you. He bought them for me because he knows I hate plaid. I only like silk pajamas. So he just wants to see me in plaid pajamas that some other bitch picked out that he didn't want to buy them for." Like, sick shit.
That is well, whenever you get all the information and shit, send me a message. I'll push everything back and we can have you so you can be able to fully say what you need to say. 'Cause that shit's not okay, and people get so mad at me when I'm like, "Fuck men, fuck men, fuck men." They get so, so mad at me when I say it. They're like, "You can't say that. That's so mean. There's great men out there." And I'm like, "Yeah, there is great men out there." And you know what those great men should be saying? "Fuck men, fuck men, fuck men, fuck men." Because they don't, like, make me look bad, they make you look like
Y'all look
if
bad.
if I was a woman and women out here were doing dirty and stuff like that, I would be like, "Mm-mm, no, I hate women," like, you know what I mean? I would be so quick to call out that behavior because I don't want that behavior to be associated with me, and men are not quick to call out that behavior, and that's the part that makes me mad, right? Like, women have a distinction in our mind that what one woman does doesn't define us, but still needs to be addressed. Men
Correct.
have this belief that what a man does defines all of them. And like that, I don't know if you've been like following me on social media. I got so much hate for me saying that I won't date black men right now. I was like, I love black men, truly do. I wanted to have black men 100%. But the way that they are moving right now,
I saw that, yeah. My
people
man
got
was black. My man was black.
the way it's just the way like that, the way
It's
that they're
egregious, bro. It's egregious. The women that he targeted were all in our late 30s. We all want marriage and kids, and he
mhm.
promises us marriage and kids and, like, next steps, and it's like, "Bro, you're wasting my good eggs. Like, you are wasting my most
Yes.
fertile years." You did this like, his whole cohort before, they were all women in their mid to late 30s that also wanted family and kids, all independent, well established. They don't need anybody's money, so it's easy for him to spread his little finances around without us missing anything. Like, it's egregious. Like, bro, if you just wanna drop dick off and be community dick, be
Then
community.
just say it.
We need good dick on call. We need to know who is who. We need to put on condoms. That's okay. You do not have to lie and tell women that, and like the whole week before I found out, we were on a road trip at Joshua Tree and Big Bear. All week long, we're talking about how we're raising our kids, that we want to buy property outside of Chicago because we can get acres. Oh, I don't want my kids to listen to certain kind of music because I don't want them this. And I'm like, well, I don't want my kids to be geeks. Like, they could listen to music and know not to say whatever. Like, we're planning our lives. I'm talking to this woman. they're doing the same exact shit, planning lives. And it's like, bro, why are you fucking with women who like these years are formidable for us
Yeah.
and you're wasting our time? Like, that's been my 2 weeks.
I am so sorry because unfortunately, I don't know exactly the pain, but I know very similar the pain, and it is just a huge mind fuck and it ruins everything. I
Yeah.
literally moved out of the state of California because I was like, "Can't do it anymore."
I'm so tired. Like, is this what's like out there for us? And it makes me really passionate about. So right now, a part of what I'm still pursuing is I think there are two other women. I think there's 1 to 2 other women, and I will not stop until I find them because if this is happening to them, I need them to know now before it gets further. But
Mhm,
anyway, I want to know how to protect us from this. How do we tell 20 something year olds that haven't seen this before that, we're still getting caught up in as older women who have dated? I've been in narcissistic relationships before, which is why I was able to spot certain things.
mhm,
But how do we break this down in a way that makes it palatable? I saw an article that the Cosmopolitan just wrote
mhm,
about it's about narcissists and sex or like love bombing and sex and
mhm,
like the type of bond that that creates, for women. And I recognized myself in there in terms of like how forward he was with his sexuality. Like this is an example, like the unsolicited, dick pics and sexual conversations and innuendos that you as a girlfriend start to go for because you're like, well, I don't really want this, but I'm appeasing my man type thing. Anyway,
mhm.
the article broke it down in a way that it didn't say anything vulgar. I think it should have given examples, but it's like a guidebook. Like, if you're seeing this, you're not crazy. Like, how do we give that to women? Like, you have your gut instinct. You know you need to know more. How do I give you the playbook so that you can recognize it as it's going? Because there's just no way we can spend our fucking years like this. There's no reason.
No, I agree. Um,
Sorry.
no, you're fine. Once again, like, you're just like, it's fucked. It fucks up your whole life. It fucks up your whole mentality. It fucks up your whole sense of being. So 100% I understand you being, because I was also so fixated on it. When I found out the last one, I was so like I couldn't get my mind off of anything but this
Yes.
and learning more. And
Yes.
even when I had finally left him, I learned that it was even like I get it. I wanna like I said, I definitely want to sit down and have this conversation a little bit more on a separate thing. Um, but before we move on, I do wanna say I'm so sorry.
Be like that sometimes.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can make things a little bit lighter for a second. So we're gonna run our little intro and then we'll
Let's
get
go.
into it a little bit. All right,
Let's do
let's go.
I'm dead.
All right. Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Basically Unbothered. We have a new guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Joanna. You guys may know me off of Instagram and TikTok. Jojo says underscore underscore. I'm an independent baddie, a Latina comedian and contemporary, and I love to talk all things culture, women empowerment,
Hmm.
and can't wait to chat with you today.
Yeah. Um, what is it that you like do? I know you mentioned on, your Instagram stuff, but I know we talked a little bit before and you've done a lot of amazing, like when you say like an independent baddie, you've done some amazing things.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, I've worked in sports. I used to work for the Chicago White Sox for quite some time, and then I led all states national soccer sponsorships. So I've worked with like Major League Soccer, the U.S. Women's National Team when they were recent
That's so
Olympians,
exciting.
CONCACAF, places like that. But I've also worked in technology for quite some time. I used to work for
Mhm.
the seven biggest banks in the country, and brands like Zelle that you may know as well. So I'm big into marketing and love to explain complex ideas and place them into layman's terms so that everyone can understand. Most recently, I'm building a few businesses on my own. One of them is a boutique marketing firm. We hope to help revolutionary wealthy people who want to donate their time and money. Excuse me. We would like to help revolutionary wealthy people who want to find the right charities to change the world, do
Hmm.
that. So the people that I'm co-founding this with have worked with like the likes of Mackenzie Scott, right, who donates a lot of Jeff Bezos's divorce money to some of the best philanthropies in the world. So we want to help folks like
Cheers
that.
to her.
So we want to help folks like that are like, hey, I have all this money. I know I want to change the world and do something good with this money, but I don't know where to place it. We have
Hmm.
all the experience and all of the connections to help folks really hone in on the topics that they care about solving and letting them know and providing philanthropic and PR strategies around that. So I'm building that firm right now. And I'm also building a political vertical for an AI company that does social listening and cultural physics. So they analyze all of headlines, social media, occurrences. They break it down into geo targets, and we're able to really understand how people receive their messaging and what they like. So what that looks like in practice is if you wanted a celebrity like Sydney Sweeney, who did her little jeans campaign ad, you could go to
Hmm.
someone like Seeker, that's the company that I'm building their political vertical for. You could go to them and say, "Hey, how will the country receive this?" And it'll break it down into cultural volatility scores to tell you these people will receive it like this, these people will receive it like this, and now you can actively choose what influence you'd like to have.
What?
So I'm building
Yeah.
that for politics because liberals, progressives, and Democrats desperately need help with messaging. And I feel like if
Mhm.
Republicans can use propaganda for harm, then liberal people can use marketing to help people choose in their own best interest. So my work is around that. I'm building those businesses now and also just having fun with JoJo Says, spreading any random thought to my fellow ladies who need encouragement, someone to relate to, or just want to say that one thing out loud and they feel too scared. I like to be the mouthpiece that's unafraid to just
I
say it.
love that. I used to be the piece that said everything that came to my mind, and honestly, I have been a lot more scared in the last recent years of sharing my life. And it's, the people always say something about we all think that it's like the social media haters that really get to you, but it's like the people in your life
Yes.
who you really trust. And so I had someone in my life, a couple people in my life make comments like, "Well, you share everything on social media and you're just putting your whole life out there and not in like a positive way." And I'm like, I'm building a brand is what I'm doing. And to build a brand, you have to build a relationship with the people. That's really important. And also, I don't share much. I share very small pockets of my life, which I get to choose. You don't see me out here talking about every single last thing, but it made me so self-conscious that I stopped sharing it. And I also get afraid that if I share something, one person is going to be so offended by it, which is hard because it's still my story, you know?
I
So I
totally hear
definitely
you.
appreciate you
I
being able
totally
to
hear
share
you on that.
stories.
No,
Yeah.
I hear you on that, especially at least for me, I'm over it. Like I really don't care anymore, not because I don't care. I shouldn't frame it like that. I have ADHD. The word is like vomit. I have to be I have to wait until 2 hours later to be like, should I have said that or
Me
not?
too.
But by that time, I will have found my people. If there's 20 people in the group and 5 leave because it's too much for them, there's always another 4 that are like, "Oh my god, this happened to me and I was too afraid to say that it happened to me because I'm ashamed, I'm embarrassed, or it's too vulgar, or it's impolite." And it's in that we find our people. So it's not that the message isn't for everyone. You don't have
Mhm.
to stay and listen to my word vomit, but there are people that relate to me and that are like, thank goodness somebody said this. Those are the people that I do it for. And I encourage you to continue doing the same way that you would like to.
I'm trying to get back to it. Sometimes things are a blessing and a curse. I've lost a lot of like my female people, my main female people in my life in the last year, which sucks. I literally cried about it yesterday. But at the same time, those were the same people that were hypercritical of this path that I'm going down. And now without them, I don't feel like I have to censor myself so much. It's just, it's ebbs and flows and you learn and there's something beautiful that Mel Robbins said and she said your social media is for you. Like your social media isn't for anyone else. Your social media is just simply for you. And I love that and I try to keep that philosophy kind of in my head. at all times, you know?
Yes. The
Like,
success I've seen in social media has been all accidental. I started off just like you. During the pandemic, I'm an extrovert. I had no one to hang out with, and my therapist was like, make videos. Just make videos, say the words out loud so that you're not just keeping them in. And then I started my social media channel, same way,
mhm,
Vert Vomit, on things that
mhm,
now I look back at some of the videos and I'm like, that's embarrassing. Why did I share that? But that's also what created this small, little, tight knit, wonderful community of
mhm.
people that have gravitated towards me because I'm saying what they wish they could say.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, yes, it's a blessing and a curse, but right now it's a blessing because it's liberation. And women of color already have to code switch 18 ways, do our hair 13 ways, dress a certain way, constantly worry about being a target for these, misogynistic men. And now I can't say what I want. Like, it's too much
It's
to bear that at the
it's
very least, I'm
yeah.
going to talk my shit. Sorry. I'm
No.
going to speak what I have to speak out loud.
Not to evoke Kanye, but can I talk my shit again?
Yes.
Actually,
Yes.
low key, to evoke Kanye, this isn't in our pop culture roundup. We're going to get to that, but it just made
Let's
me think about his apology letter,
Mhm. I read it.
which I really appreciated. I don't, especially coming from a black male, black men didn't do apologize. They tend to make excuses for their actions or whatever. And that I want to like copy. It's going to make me cry and I have no idea why. I want to like copy his apology and use it as an example of how you should apologize to people because he didn't blame anybody else for his actions. He took responsibility for it. He explained why his actions looked the way that he did. And then he also said that still doesn't excuse what I did or what I said or the large majority of the people that I've hurt. And I understand that I have to do a lot to repair those relationships that I, let down and betrayed. And I was like, I definitely have not agreed with a lot that he has said, but him saying, I got off my medication and getting off my medication created this manic cycles. Like, oh, Kanye, we kind of knew this whole time.
Yes.
But I do appreciate like a real apology. And it wasn't, him on a screen with lighting. It was him actually taking time to really think through his words. So I appreciate that. I don't know how you felt about it.
I noticed the medium first, that he
Mhm.
chose the Washington Post. He chose to buy an ad when he could have easily gone to like social media. He could have, like you said, formed a video. I thought
Mhm.
it was a very official thing. I also know that he recognized his Jewish audience of like,
Mhm.
these are kind of the main people that I'm apologizing to. So they may not see me on my platform. I
Cuz
want to
they
take
probably blocked me.
because they probably blocked me. So I'm going to take it out in the Post so that it's more official, right? It's
Mhm.
always going to be in historical record. They will always have a copy of the Washington Post and he will, be in there. So I noticed the medium first, which let me know he was serious. I
Mhm.
also think he has a PR team, right? He has a PR team that let him know if you're going to issue this apology, these are the 5 points you need to hit. And this is what the medium should be. So I thought it was very calculated again.
Mhm.
I do know that Kanye West's persona, I'm also from the west suburbs of Chicago, so I understand Black Chicagoan men. And to your point, there's a lot of audacity. There's not a whole lot of apologizing. And usually, if the apology is done verbally or in person, that may have read differently. You may not be able to take him as seriously as if it were in writing in the Washington Post. So I think that was deliberate
Mhm.
because knowing Kanye, he might have added additional color in there that would have made it less impactful. But I also think Kanye West wouldn't sign off on something unless he meant it with his chest.
And that's you know what? That's one of the things I like about celebrities who are authentic, whether you like them or not, because that is how you know that whatever they said is authentic. And segueing into that, let's get into our pop culture roundup. Quick pause, because if you love dark stories that don't flinch, Olympic War isn't a soft love story. It's violent, it's chosen, and it costs everything. Through war, betrayal, and survival, Moonstone fights for devotion that refuses to die. This is a Black, multicultural dystopian series about power, sacrifice, and what rises from the ashes. Olympic War and Phoenix War. Read them wherever books are sold. All right. Today, our first topic is Cardi B. And when we're talking about authenticity, a lot of these singers, a lot of these actresses, a lot of these influencers, they've all been coming out with their own brands, whether that be skin or hair or makeup. And some of it you can truly understand, and some of them have thrived. For instance, um, Rare Beauty, a brand that I love. I'm also very happy that she is in Ulta now and not just Sephora because Sephora's be doing no things. And I already have some no stores that I can't give up. So I couldn't add Sephora to my list. So I'm happy to have Rare Beauty in Ulta. I'm also a big REM brand. I mean, like fan, but there are certain brands that just have never made sense to me. And the people that have made these brands have never made sense to me, and the Beehive is gonna come after me, but I'm gonna say it, Sacred never made sense to me.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
It just
I feel this way about Beyoncé brands in general. Like, I
yes.
know that her music, wonderful, love it, Renaissance tour, whatever. I too have my critiques of Beyoncé, but in terms of her products, they never resonate. And I think a piece of it is authenticity. Like,
No.
Beyoncé hasn't been in real life scenarios in decades and decades. She's not going to understand necessarily what women of a certain economic demographic need to do in order to accomplish some of our beauty routines. Beyoncé has too much access, I think, so sometimes it just doesn't land where like Cardi has landed. I'll let you keep
Right.
going.
I agree 100%. I think that Beyoncé has never I think one of the things that I've not liked the most about Beyoncé is she's never came off as relatable, and part of that is and I love this for her, like, she keeps a lot of her private life private. But none of us really truly know what Beyoncé is like, who Beyoncé is. And that in this era that we are in social media and product, they have to blend. I have to trust you as a person to trust you as a brand. And I think
Yes.
that's why a lot of her things fail. And you're right, Beyoncé has tried, to me, really hard to have the Black community rally around her, and they do, but some of the things still fall short for me. When she made the music video and it had included all different kind of natural styles for her hair, and she still stood in her glam, in her blonde wig, and it was like, that would have been the perfect moment for you to, like, make yourself vulnerable.
Yes.
That would have been a perfect moment for you to be like, "Okay, I'm asking other women to break down their own barriers, so let me do the same." And that is why I haven't resonated with her a lot. And, kinda with the same thing with Sacred, she wanted a more high-end brand. You can tell that in her packaging, whereas, what's her name? Diana Ross's daughter.
Tracee Ellis Ross with Pattern.
Tracee Ellis Ross, so she has her brand,
I
and
use some of
it's
her products. Yeah.
I use her gel all the time. I love her gel. I use her, like, refreshing spray sometimes for my locks. Um, Her products I love. They feel very, like, even though Tracee Ellis Ross is high tier, right? They feel very resonated with her and her soul and her specific journey because she has, curly hair, and she shared, like, that's kind of how it, came out to be. And so I say all this to say Cardi B has just announced her new hairline that's going to be coming out, and it's called Grow Good. And I'm already obsessed with the marketing.
Me too. I just saw the picture of her with the plastic bag tied on her head. And me as a Latina, I can't relate necessarily to putting it on for deep conditioning because I'm not a black woman, but I wear
Hmm.
plastic bags when I fry food. When, you're doing something and you don't want like pollution to get into your hair. So you tie it in a plastic bag when you're at home. When I go to
Hmm.
bonfires, when I go to bonfires, I put my head in a plastic bag and my friends are looking at me crazy, but I'm like, I just washed this. You do not understand. I can't
Yeah,
smell
like
like
I'm not.
so
I
even when
think that
I
the
see Cardi as a non-Black woman, I'm like, oh my God, like I do that and I'm embarrassed to come out like that. And Cardi did it in an official way in a campaign,
Yes.
showing everybody. And that's exactly the type of authenticity that the world is craving for, which takes me back to the conversation you and I were having around our very own authenticity and being afraid to speak our minds. No,
Hmm.
people are looking for us. They're looking for our audacity, and they're looking to see themselves within us. Cardi played into that perfectly. She also has the results to show for it. We can see Cardi
Agree.
grow.
And it's been well planned because she's gone through the whole like thing. And one of the things that pissed me off is someone was like, Cardi is Hispanic, so obviously her hair is going to grow different. And I was like, actually, correction. She is Afro Caribbean, Afro Latina. Put some respect on her, because I'm Afro Caribbean. And I'm like, put some respect on her name. She represents more than one culture, and just trying to put her as a Latina or whatever doesn't fully encompass. And I think that's the other thing I love about her hair brand is it's bringing two things that people see maybe differently together, because I agree with you. The first thing I'm always going to protect is my hair. My whole body can be soaked in the rain,
Yes.
but I bet you my hair is going to be okay.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there's very few communities who will understand that. And to me, the African American community blended with the Latina Hispanic community together, we understand, like, our makeup tends to be similar, our styling tends to be similar. We don't have similar hair, but the way that we treat our hair tends to be similar. And I love the idea that, you're talking about wearing the plastic cap to cook and everything. I used to wear the plastic cap, and I still do a plastic bag when I dye my hair.
Yeah. You just
And
reach for it.
plastic bags used to be like my shower cap. What do you
Yes.
mean? Why am I
Yes.
spending
Yes.
$5 on a shower cap? I put
Exactly.
a
And that's where Cardi also taps in, because Cardi lived in a certain socioeconomic status that we can look at and respect. Cardi knows that women like us need to make cuts and corners in places in our lives. And some of the first places that take those cuts are luxury things like
Mhm,
skincare, all that sort of stuff. But we still have the same baddie desires to be our most gorgeous selves. So we're going to
mhm,
find a way. If I can't buy the coolest lotion, I'm going to lather myself in coconut oil. If I
mhm.
can't buy a shower cap or a bonnet, I'm gonna put a plastic bag on my head. And Cardi knows that. Beyonce has no semblance of what that requires because she's always had a team. That's also why I don't think people trust the results initially, because Beyonce has had decades and decades of the best doctors, the best teams, the best experts to help her grow her hair. That's not to say
Yeah.
she didn't have wisdom to share, but it also shows a little bit of tone deafness that this is a luxury item, considering that we would need that item all the time and that we have to spend money in all these other places. Cardi B
Mhm,
seems to understand who her audience is, how we behave currently, and where we
mhm.
are aspirationally. I think marketing wise, Beyonce represents an aspirational Black celebrity versus Cardi B is who you could be if you could rap and dance for tomorrow. Like you feel like I am Cardi already, like she and I relate
Yes.
a room and we could talk shit. I could drink Hennessy with Cardi B and not be nervous, you know?
You right, like, I could hang out with her, and we could just talk shit. And you know what? I'm not a big Cardi B fan fully of her, like, music and the, like, surgeries and everything, but I am I've always told people that if you had to give me a list of favorite female rappers, she'll be ahead of so many other people. Nicki Minaj, way ahead of so many other people, because one of the things that she has always presented is she is who she is. And I watched her come up from, like, Love and Hip Hop to
Yes, me
where,
too.
like, I've watched her on Love and Hip Hop
Yes.
be like, "If you got beef with me, you got beef
Before.
forever." I will Was
Love her.
she annoying sometimes? Absolutely. But you know what? I think the aspirational part is also, for me, I have a problem with wanting to be accepted. And sometimes I have annoying traits. I also am neurodivergent, and people have spent most of my life commenting on them. And Cardi B makes you feel like, who cares?
Yes. Yes,
And
she's one of my inspirations. Sorry. So
yes.
for my content media channel, the people that I like draw into is like Z-Way, Cardi B, Chelsea Handler, of like fuck it. Like, do I want you around me anyway because you're going to critique me anyway? Don't I just want to attract the people that I can sit and talk shit with authentically? That's how I felt like when creating content. And Cardi B is one of the people I leaned into because Cardi doesn't give a shit and most people relate to her. White people, wealthy people who have never, been in the circumstances she's been in. They relate to her because she's so honest that at least 30% of her stuff is going to land with you. At least
Yeah.
30% of the stuff that she says, you're going to be like, I've definitely thought that. Maybe I wasn't brave enough to say it out loud, but I've definitely thought that.
Yeah.
And that's honestly,
I
I'd rather play in.
I love it, and I think that this brand will very much succeed, and I think the fact that, again, she is Afro-Latina and Afro-Caribbean, that she is gonna reach such a big, broad market because she hasn't she hasn't defined herself as the premium Black hair care, the premium you know what I mean? She's just like, "Oh, I'm here to help y'all get y'all hair together.
Yes.
We just gonna and we gonna grow good together."
Like, I found something that works, so Imma tell y'all, what's really good. I
It's
combine.
it yeah. It's giving like an Instagram you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I
And if
think
you
that it will
notice
be
sorry, go
mm,
ahead.
no,
I keep
go right
interrupting.
ahead.
To neurodivergence, we're just gonna keep interrupting. So so that's another thing with Cardi that you mentioned, like, Beyoncé's campaign was, like, her in, like, her blonde wig, and it's like, "Sis, we're talking about hair growth, like, let me see your shit, like, I wanna see your hair. How did
Yes.
your hair get better? Where did your hair start? Because if Beyoncé's hair started in a good place, like, what does that look like?" Whereas Cardi, she took that shit off, and for years, Cardi has also shared her hair experience and said, "I wear wigs because I wanna protect my hair. This is how far my, hair has gone. This is what it looks like when, it's straightened or flat ironed." So I feel like Cardi has been planting these seeds that she has done a good job of becoming her product beforehand, as opposed to Beyonce, who sells us amazing music, who that makes us want to aspire to be the best, most badass women we can. It makes
Mm,
us believe we already are. That's why she's so aspirational. But she's not placing herself in our real world scenarios.
mm-mm.
Cardi is, and that's why a Beyoncé product is a more difficult sell because that's not what she's selling us. She's selling us like aspiration, keep going, go work out, build up business, go work hard. This is what Black excellence looks like. This is what women of color can be striving for. Cardi B is saying, bitch, your life is hard. These men be cheating on you. They don't pay you enough at work. This government ain't shit. You can't grow your hair. I found something that works for me. Let me tell you. And that's why Cardi B is so relatable and her marketing is much easier because it feeds directly into her brand and her brand
Mhm.
awareness. It fits. Beyonce has never chosen products that fit.
Yeah. And you know what? Honestly, I've taken that into mindset when I'm building my brands now. When I'm building my brands, I've pulled back on promoting as much, and I've taken some of my Instagrams where I show my products, and then I created my Pure Tifa one where it just kinda shows photos, videos of me just living my life like today was. I woke up and I was feeling it was a mess last week, so here I am doing yoga, you know what I mean? And that leads into people seeing more of what my life looks like. And then when I start talk and when so while I continue to talk about my teas and my candles and everything like that, people start to see that it's not just this product that I'm selling, like it's actually a part of my whole lifestyle that I have. And that's been my biggest struggle is being able to connect in that way again because I'm limiting myself. But you're right, like Cardi has done marketing genius of building on this so that it feels very aligned with who she is already. We're gonna head into our next topic. Our next today is it's I did change one of our topics, so I can't wait to show you that one. But our next topic today is going to be about the statement the Super Bowl halftime made. Now, I talked a bit about this on I do like a recapped episode. I actually have to start watching Love is Blind ugh, for this week's episode. But I talked a little bit about the Super Bowl and what impact it made and how many people are, many people of all colors are talking about it and how they felt about it. So, did you watch the Super Bowl halftime show?
I did absolutely danced through it, teared
Yeah.
up, screamed. I was mad Ricky Martin looked so fine because why do these gay men get to look so fine? I can't. I'm
That's
like,
because
why is
they do
he always
skincare.
getting
It's
fooled?
because gay men do skincare.
gay men know how to like they need to teach the straights. I'm like, you guys need to be doing workshops. Y'all need to what haircuts are you getting? How many times a week are you working out? What are the cleanses? What's the skincare routine? Because these men need help.
They do. Ricky Martin, like, it's funny because I was watching it and I was like, "Oh my gosh, mom, Ricky Martin." She's like, "There's no way that's Ricky Martin." And I forgot who else she named. She named like Enrique Iglesias. And I was like, "No, mom, that's Ricky
You can
Martin."
never, yeah.
But yeah, I loved watching it. Again, my family is from the United States Virgin Islands. So a lot of people don't know that this is like St. Thomas is where my mom is from, and this is Puerto Rico, and we're neighbors. So
Yes.
all of our culture is very, like a lot of the United States Virgin Island culture is very intermeshed with Hispanic culture and with French culture. So a lot of our foods, but my mom says French culture more, but I think a lot of like Caribbean food and Hispanic food, especially like Hispanic island food, is very, very similar. But it was interesting to see some of the things that he had in the Super Bowl halftime show, like the markets that made me think about St. Thomas and the markets that we have. It felt good.
Good.
It
It felt
felt like I imagine that Hispanics, specifically Puerto Ricans, felt very seen, but it felt like being seen.
it felt like I feel like because people of color, specifically first generation folks here in the
Mhm,
United States that are people of color, we are consistently guests in places. We always walk into spaces where we may be the only person of color, or we may be the only person with our hair, or we may like there's so many things that are gate kept from us right off
mhm,
the jump that whenever we enter these spaces, we always have to tend to accommodate to them. Right. So like for me in corporate and school, business meetings, I'm always the guest. And I don't think a lot of white Americans, as we saw their reaction to the Super Bowl halftime, they're not accustomed to being guests in spaces and the experience not revolving around them and their likes. So not all white people, right? Because we definitely had plenty of white allies that were happy for us, but this was an
mhm.
experience for the representation of Puerto Rican people on a world stage to invite you to be a guest.
Like,
Take
it
a
was
look,
so
take
culture
a
like, welcome
gander.
to our home. Yeah.
Yes, like take a gander, look at these things. And if you notice, a lot of first generation people that are maybe Desi or from the Middle East or people who are from African countries, people from the Caribbean, Mexicans, first generation people saw the similarities of like, wait, we do that too. Or like our kids sleep on chairs at family parties. Or like, we have a guy that does, snow cones or raspados like on the side of the street. So it's like when you allow yourself to be a guest in a space that isn't tailored for you, you
Mhm,
create space to find similarities with other people. And you have the time and the joy of watching someone else experience their full authenticity in front of you and you just watch. I found that to be so romantic and beautiful and like otherworldly. I appreciate the white allies who were able to sit in that and really love that for us. It makes me pity the people who can't because they will never open up their perspective to understand how much beauty is out there in the world that doesn't have to be belong to them. It doesn't have to be coveted by them. You don't have to wear the stuff. You don't have to dance like that. You don't have to speak Spanish in order for you to say, "Dang, they're having a really good time. That looks
like,
beautiful."
they
Like the
jamming,
food,
like, I want
yeah,
I
it
wanna
makes
I
me
wanna
want
get in.
yeah, and it's like if they only knew that most people of color enjoy that, like come to the house. I will feed you a plate of food. You will take home leftovers. I will teach you how to dance. We'll make sure you have the hospitality around you that it really bothers me that so many people rob themselves of the experience of other people. So when I saw that halftime show, it really just brought my Latinidad forward and I felt proud. I'm Mexican, but man,
Mhm,
I was proud of Puerto Ricans. Like you guys are a tiny island
mhm,
owned by the most imperialist nation in the world that will not let you vote, that privatizes your electrical grid, that
mhm.
gentrifies your spaces, that steals your resources, subjugates its people. And somehow you have created a superstar so undeniable that the world cannot look away. You did not give him this opportunity, he snatched it. And the rest of us get to watch in your full glory. And we love to see you be yourself. Again, going back to that authenticity. No matter who it upsets, people love to see you shine as you. You will
I
always
agree.
gravitate towards those folks.
I agree. Again, one of the things that I'm working on, I wanna go back to you were talking about, like, first generations. I've learned recently and it's funny because I told my friend and she was like, "Yeah, duh," that if I looked at myself more as a first generation from my mom being born and raised in St. Thomas, and even though they're both Americans, the culture is so different that I've also even in Black spaces, I felt like a guest in. And, that's something that is uniquely from people who have had family that immigrated or however you wanna call it, crossed cultures, is that they don't feel connection, like, to their own culture sometimes, and they don't feel connection to the other cultures around them, and that's such a complex thing, and I remember, like, I've been teased my whole life for not being Black enough, and I was like, "I don't understand." I'd get teased back home for not being West Indian enough or Caribbean enough, and it was something that like, you didn't feel like you were missing out on anything, you felt like you were invited in. No one was telling you you're not good enough or you're not Hispanic enough or even you're not white enough, however you wanna take that. It was just like, "This is our party. Let's show you how we party. You show us how you party all the time, and we celebrate in how you party. Now it's time for us to be like, this is what this party looks like." And it's interesting, one of my coworkers, she was talking about how she was like, "Dang, I had to tell my, fiancé that, like, sorry that he's dating a white girl because I can't dance like that." And my immediate response was like, "Girl, what do you mean? Let's go to Carnival,
Mhm.
we'll head over to St. Thomas real quick. We'll go to
Yeah.
Carnival. We'll go celebrate that. You'll come back and you'll have all the moves." And
Yes.
and, like, even in that, like, it wasn't, it was a moment for someone else to be like, "Man, I've never got to experience that," and for someone else to say, "Well, let me show you. Let's have fun together." And I think that we as a community needed that, First of all, it was just pure fun. Was it making, were there little things here and there that were political? Sure, but the majority of it was just celebrating love and happiness and culture and fun. And even in the end, um, when, he had the football and said all of us are American and he called out all of the American countries, not just in the United States, but like all over. That was something significant. I said this on the recap podcast, but my aunt, my aunt still lives in St. Thomas, was pissed because she didn't think she saw the USVI flag. Like, because when I say that St. Thomians and Puerto Ricans are so, so very close. St. Thomans and Puerto Ricans, St. Thomans and Santo Domingans. There are a lot of Puerto Ricans, there are a lot of Santo Domingans that are in St. Thomas and probably, vice versa is very intermeshed. And so, and like to the point that, what is it? Coquito is
Mhm.
Puerto Rican, I believe.
Yes, it is.
And
Mhm.
we like Coquito is huge in St. Thomas. Oh my God, you get your Puerto Rican friend to make you Coquito, you feel like I tried to teach myself and I failed, but I tried to teach myself to make Coquito.
At Christmas,
Um,
I put in an order with my local
dude,
Puerto Ricans in Chicago. Shout out Humboldt Park.
dude, Christmas is the best. Oh, like I love eggnog. Like the Americanized version of me loves eggnog, but I also want Coquito during holidays,
Yes,
and I
I
better
only
get
drink
both.
coquito. Yes. Because I grew
That
up in
shit's
Chicago, there's so many cultures there, so, like, I could just drive 20 minutes into Humboldt Park, and someone is selling coquito from their apartment, and Imma be like, "Let me get 2. I'll be back in
absolutely,
2 weeks."
yeah, because Imma drink all of this.
Yes, and she's gonna give it to me in a random plastic bottle that she saved that she doesn't need to use anymore, and she's gonna pour all that coquito in there, Imma be like, "Yoink. Thank you."
You know what? It's funny because I'm gonna like not to keep plugging my brand, but it just keeps reminding me of certain
Do
things
it.
that I do intentionally. These are how I sell my teas. And they just have, like, a name on it. I do wanna get, like, a twist tie on it, but I wanted it to feel like you went to someone's house and someone was like, "Here's this thing I cooked up for you. Here you go." Instead of feeling like this big, high-end brand, I wanted to feel like you got the love from because, that's I guess that's part of my culture, going to markets in St. Thomas and getting, tea bag. I literally just there's this thing called spirulina popcorn and you don't get them in these nice little fancy bags. Oh, they're great though, by the way. Let's just sprinkle spirulina powder on popcorn. Addicted.
I didn't know that, and it's like, what's a great way to ingest spirulina? Because it's good for you, you want it, so it's like, that's such a creative way to eat it. Oh my god, I'm gonna
Yeah.
try that.
You get it in a little bag with a little label on it. There you go.
Okay.
Love
I'll
it.
take
I would definitely say try it. Now that I'm talking about it, I actually just got some spirulina to put in my smoothies, and now I'm
love that.
like, "Dang, I low key can make spirulina popcorn."
There you
So
go,
good.
I'm excited. That
So, so
conversation
good.
you just had around containers, I also think is like goes back to the Cardi B thing of like her use of the plastic bag and the sense of
Mhm,
authenticity. When you go to someone's house or someone's mom's house and they say, "Look, mija, I made this. Take this with you." It's always gonna be in a random plastic Tupperware that they don't need back or an aluminum foil wrapped in a plastic bag, and it's like the most
mhm,
humble of packages have the most love, the most
mhm,
knowledge, the most wisdom, and someone genuinely saying, "Hey, this worked for me. I love it so much. I need you to try it because I heard your story and I know that you would benefit from this." So in the humility is that love, right? Like, I will package this for you no matter what, no matter how, but you're gonna take this with you. And that's the type of, I guess, love and authenticity that we resonate with. So when it comes time to sell us products, it
mhm.
sounds like that's great for the target demographic. So I love that you're using that.
Yeah. I really thought about it and was like, originally I was trying to be so, like, holistic brand thinking. I'm like, "That doesn't feel like me, doesn't feel like what I wanna say." Alright, our final topic in our pop culture roundup, I switched, because me and you had talked about talking about a topic that's going around, and this felt like a great kind of way to land it in our pop culture, but also really talk about things that are going on in the world right now, and it is the comments. The Grammys happened a couple of weeks ago, but the comments still stand, and it was beautiful to see stars of all colors calling out what is happening in America right now. Um, you know, first of all, Bad Bunny giving his speech in Spanish was tea.
Good
He
choice.
said, "Use those captions.
Hmm.
They're there for a reason."
This is my
Uh,
moment. I'm
yeah.
going to speak to my people.
Um, Trevor Noah calling out Nicki Minaj. Love Trevor Noah so much. He
Dude.
is one of I don't like comedians. I think comedians tend to be very vulgar and racist and sexist to get a joke, to get a laugh, and I don't think that poking fun at somebody's culture is funny. I think poking fun at your own culture is funny because you have the right to say what your experience is in your own life, but poking fun at other people is just not funny to me, on a grand scheme. Like, if it's you and your friend just, like, popping a shit or whatever, like, that's a little bit different because you're just shooting the shit, you really truly don't mean it, but when you do it on a grand, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Platform. You do it on a grand platform, you're actually influencing people to believe these things about other people. What I love about Trevor Noah is that that's not his comedy at all. His comedy has always been very woke or, very intentional. So him
Educational, even.
yes. I've learned much from listening to him. Him calling out Nicki Minaj was, God, everything. Also, side note, I could not stand her in general. I cannot stand her right now.
Was heartbroken. I used to like Cardi a lot, just like from her, rap and her verses. I always knew she was a little problematic, but she's kind of like that ex-boyfriend that you love so much that's so toxic to you that it's like, but wait, this is my little piece of garbage. Like, I'm like
Yeah,
the
this is my
possum in the
little
burning
trash
dumpster.
panda.
Like, this is my trash. Yeah. But I always loved and respected Nicki Minaj's like lyricism, her ability to like push past people that were saying no to her. And there were certainly different songs and verses of Nicki's that I'll turn on when I feel like down and I'm like, I need to be empowered.
Mhm.
To watch her take this turn felt like the betrayal of the worst kind. Like, to watch her do this, especially in protection of men. And it made me feel
Mm,
like, at what point will women of color stop burning themselves at the stake to save men who did what they wanted to do and need to suffer the consequences of what they've done?
of
So
their
that
action.
yes, so I'm a Latina studies major, so
Mhm.
critical race theory is big in my jam, so I was analyzing Nikki from this sense, and I'm like, how many women of color have not thrown themselves into the fire to save men that didn't deserve it and that wouldn't do the same for them? That was the first thing I saw. I'm like, and now she's pandering to the most powerful, unethical, not qualified leader as a strong Black woman who told us over and over to go to school, to get jobs, to be a badass, and to be unapologetic. It just felt like a stab in my heart. And I was like, I always liked Cardi better, so I was like, Cardi always stood 10 toes down. So as soon as they got into that fight, I was like, I'm team Cardi. Cardi's down.
Yeah. When even when, Nicki Minaj has always had trouble when she doesn't have the spotlight. Um, that's very apparent, and she gets more and more problematic the longer she goes without the spotlight. I don't know if you she gets sh I mean, she had the spotlight as a female rapper for so long. Anytime a female rapper threatens her spotlight, she gets very so,
It gives not
Ig
girls girl. Like it
yeah.
gives not girls girl at all.
So, like, think about how she reacted to Iggy Azalea, who was just kind of like a 1, 2 hit wonder. I mean, decent rapper, but was like a 1, 2 hit wonder. She reacted very poorly to that. When Remy Ma came out, she acted really poorly to that. When Cardi B started getting big, she acted really poorly to that. When Meg Thee Stallion started getting big, she couldn't handle it. Then she wants to drop out of music. Then she wants to try to make music. There's she she just needs the spotlight. And so, for Trevor Noah to make fun of her not getting it, like, guess who's not here? Guess who's not showing up was freaking hilarious to me. But more than that, I loved how many of the singers, songwriters took time to acknowledge what was happening at the time and what is still happening, which is the abuse of our, I don't even wanna say police system, because there are police who aren't even okay with what's going on anymore, but it's a common thing that shows up, and I've always wanted it to be more of a unity thing about the brutality of force that we allow here, specifically with, ICE right now. Um, I even when the Black Lives Matter thing, I was very ignorant when I was younger, so if anyone sees a post that says "All lives matter," know that I didn't actually understand what "all lives matter" meant. I was very young at the time, and what I was trying to say is that, and I've always tried to be vocal for people who can't be vocal, that includes cultures that aren't mine. Right? So one of the things that I used to say all the time was, we are very focused right now on the police brutality of African American people, but we ignore the police brutality of Hispanic people in our country, of Mexican people in our country, and they don't have the same visibility. Like, it's the bigger issue is not just the discrimination against Black people. The bigger issue is the discrimination against anybody who is different. And so seeing that kind of come up and be noticed now, and is it sad that it takes for people of color to be affected, for people to really pay attention? Absolutely. But I loved that, people say art isn't political, and that's stupid. Art is very political. And I loved the platform that people are coming out and saying, this is just not okay.
Yes, I definitely agree that I think this is a great example of injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. Anything that they
Hmm.
can do to Black bodies, they do plan on doing to all other dissidents. This is just
And
their
vice versa.
anything that, the Israeli government does to Palestinians, whether it's using surveillance, whether it's using tactics, military tactics, drones, that is practice. That is brought by the IDF to the United States to train law enforcement. Take a look at Stop Cop City in Atlanta. That
Hmm.
that uses to train their forces because now they have things that have worked. Hey, this has worked in our subjugation of Palestinian people. How do we give it to you so that you can subjugate people when it comes time? This is one of the things
Yes.
that really gets to me about the current ICE struggle that we're experiencing it. That Black people have called this out for decades and decades, that this is how police treats them when nobody is looking. When they get stopped for traffic tickets, when they maybe, get mouthy with an officer, these are the
Hmm.
type of approaches that happen to them. It's just that nobody's been there to film it, or by the time that it's happened, it's already been swept under the rug and so much is going on, or people have internalized so much racism that they have a greater threshold for the suffering of Black bodies than anything else. So
Hmm.
people, I think, right now are having a reckoning of, oh, this can extend to others. Yes, you guys have been watching Black people get brutalized for decades. Thought it wasn't going to happen to you. Look at how many Latinos voted. for this that now it comes time that you have to see grandmothers and grandfathers get body slammed in the streets because you thought you were the exception and you are not. And people tried to tell you this and warn you about this. People have
And
been
you wouldn't listen.
and people have been screaming about law enforcement. And I don't even want to say law enforcement. I want to say state sanctioned violence because that can funnel into local law enforcement. It can be ICE. It can be anything. It can be a security guard. It can be Secret Service. It can be anybody that the government or that rich, wealthy white supremacists say, hey, fight your own people. We will deploy the National Guard. State sanctioned violence is always an option if you are a dissenter and a dissident. At the end of the day, it won't matter if you're black, white, or brown. However, they will go for the black first. They will go for the brown next. They will come for women when they cannot control the collective. They will
Mhm.
debilitate resources for children when the women start to, rebel. So these are all tried and true tactics of governments trying to oppress their people. Like I said, I have a degree in this, so like the history of it is really important to me. But I think what a lot of folks don't realize is that this has to be fought in multiple lanes. That's why in culture, in art, it has to be called out. That's where it's called out first. And
Mhm.
then you need protests, and then you need legislation, and then then you need the professors to stand up, then you need the corporations. So it's like we can only work in unison with each other. And where we do see a difference now is there is law enforcement coming forward and saying, hey, I'm actually not okay with this. There was a Harvard study done around protests that said
Mhm.
protests were most effective when you have police buy in, law enforcement buy in. I'm starting to see that shift a little bit here, and I really hope people use it to our advantage because now local law enforcement that maybe doesn't treat their communities as terribly as some other law enforcement of communities do,
Mhm.
they're starting to recognize that, hey, this isn't just business as usual. They're going after just anybody. And the rest of progressives are saying, we've been known that. We've been known that there was a canary in the coal mine, and that canary's been dead for decades. So we knew this was going to happen. At what point are you going to believe us that these people treat us differently? At what point?
I agree with that, and it angers me because to speak on the, like, black side of things, African Americans are so blinded in their own pain, which is understandable, but they're so blinded in their own pain that they ignore that there's a bigger message and a bigger thing here, and that the only way to fight it is to stop dividing ourselves, whether it's within our community or whether it's in our community of minorities. And, stop fighting for who had it worse or who has it better. Yeah, of course. Like, let's be real. People who have more proximity to whiteness have it better. Obviously, there has been a concerted effort that the darker your skin goes, the worse you are treated. And that still exists within even the black culture. The lighter your skin is, the better you are treated, the darker
With
that your skin
Latinos,
goes.
colorism is
Right.
very alive and well.
The- uh,
That's why it's white supremacy. That's why
Yes.
white supremacy is the umbrella. It permeates all of our spaces, and we all have it inherently within ourselves. We carry it and we repeat it and we create these cycles for ourselves. Like the work of the oppressor is so
Mhm.
that we do it to ourselves.
We do. Have you It was on Love and Hip Hop, and it was an Afro-Caribbean woman. I can't remember her name, but she was talking about how a lot of these Afro-Caribbean islands, or just islands in general, um, that bleaching their skin is like a common and normalized thing. And I'm like, first of all, I can't understand. I am on the lighter side, and currently hating it personally. I can't The sun's finally coming out, and I'm like, my concealer ain't hitting right now. I need the sun
And
to
look
bless
tan.
my yeah, I need the sun to bless my skin a little bit. I look at myself and I'm like, "Who is this pale girl in the mirror?" Um, but so I can't obviously understand what it would feel like to want to be lighter. I actually want to be a bit darker in general, you know what I mean? But the feeling that you would hate yourself, or that this society has conditioned you to hate yourself and your color so much that you would put harsh chemicals onto your skin and onto your body to make you more acceptable, is infuriating to me. And that all contributes to, like, the white supremacy and the patriarchy and how they all benefit from it. And I try to stay away from, and we talked about this, I try to stay away from commenting on things politically a lot because of my affiliations currently, and also because I like to think that people find this to be a safe space to hear truth, but also feel, like they're not weighed down by it and that they learn something from it. Because news right now feels so heavy. And I want to provide like a safe space for that. But I've never been for war, which is contradictory to my current affiliation, but I've never been for war. I've never been for violence. I do not stand for that at all. And watching what angers me most, and I'm gonna say this, and if I get in fucking trouble, I don't care. What angers me most is that we are displaying evidence of creating a system similar to the Holocaust, and people are just walking around ignorantly not paying attention to it. And I've been saying this for a year now, and the current behavior of ICE is very exemplative of whatever. Words are hard for me sometimes, the neurodivergent part, of what's going on and how that is starting to be, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to make us more and more custom to systematic violence. Because the more tolerant and custom we are to it, the more they can get away with. And so for some people, they're like, I can't believe that this is happening. And in my brain, I'm like, this is just the beginning, unfortunately. And if we don't stop it soon, it's going to spiral into something worse. And we're talking about these camps where they're holding quote unquote immigrants. And I say that because there are a lot of people that they are arresting aren't immigrants, are just concentration camps.
Yes.
And then people go and they say, well, America never would. And I was like, ooh, you should
We
kind of
have.
look at World War II.
Franklin D. Roosevelt.
I'm gonna need you to look at World War II, and I'm gonna need you to look at how they treat Japanese people or Asian people in general after they got bombed, which is another reason why
They've
Asian
lost.
people.
And what they
Yeah,
lost after they were locked up because their businesses and their homes were taken and lost, their jobs were lost, like, they lost
they were
generational
they were
wealth
they were
that.
moved to camps that
Yes.
maybe might not have been as severe as you might have considered a Holocaust concentration camp, but it was still a concentration camp. They were moved to camps, and it's probably why Asian people, not all, but some Asian people these days have a very big desire to be white adjacent. What and tying this back into Nicki Minaj, Nicki Minaj is also trying to be white adjacent because what she is looking for is protection.
Correct.
And that is a radical thing that you will see in people of color now, is that their mind says, we can't win this. So how do I make sure that I live through this?
Or I am safe, that I
Mhm.
pander enough, that I am safe so that, the person holding the purse strings to provisions and protections thinks I'm worthy enough and that I'm gonna act right. And they've already laid all these rules for me. I have to look like this, I have to speak like this, I have to, follow this sort of, career path. I have to like these things. And maybe if I do that, maybe I'll be safe. Me and my family are good. And that's the work of white supremacy, is to create this narrative of what is good, what is acceptable, and what is American
Mhm.
and who you are. I think Toni Morrison said it best when she explained to us that the work of racism, and really any ism,
Mhm.
feminism, any of it, the work of it is to keep you explaining yourself, to keep you saying, well, I'm a worthy, Latina because I went to
Because
school, because I did this, and because it works to keep you explaining yourself instead of you being able to live freely and authentically and still be awarded safety and the ability for the pursuit of happiness, right? But in reality, that that's just meant to tie you up. And which is also why authenticity is so important to me, because I know that me explaining that I'm still a good person, even though I curse and I say these vulgar things, or, I comment on these topics that not everyone does. It's not my job to convince you anymore. And I think that is radicalism. And I think it's something women of color specifically need to adopt first, because we're at the brunt of our government, of our
Mhm.
men, of our societies, of our education systems, of our childcare systems, of our healthcare systems, that the most we have is our authenticity and our fearlessness in our
Mhm.
protection of each other.
I agree. And into protection of each other, we're going to get into our pettier facts of the week. And look, Cardi B's back. Cardi B's back, and not to continue to diss on terrible men, but Stefan Diggs is back as well. And her treatment. So I don't know if you saw her interview that they interviewed her before
No, I
the
didn't.
Super Bowl. It's hilarious. So to give everybody a little background, Cardi B left bum ass Offset as she should, and she thought that she had found right. She thought that she had found the one in Stefan Diggs, who has apparently, I don't know if you caught up with this, but apparently it's like 3 or 4 kids all happening in the same year.
It's
Wild.
disgusting. I don't
And
understand men's, like, need for spreading their seed and creating these fatherless homes and why it speaks to their own, like, machismo supremacy of, like, them being this alpha man. And I also don't
I
understand
got
the
all
men
these
side on
kids.
this. I
Nick
don't.
Cannon.
It grosses me out. I think
It
it's but if a woman had 2 children from 2 different men in 2 years, we would be whores, and it's like, we can only be Madonnas and we can only be whores, and these men who
can
have
be
legacies and careers are badasses if they have 18 women with their kids. It grosses me out.
it's it's disgusting, and it's I like, I don't have words. Um, yes, so Stefan Diggs, he plays for the Patriots. The other sad thing is, unfortunately, men who get into football, specifically Black men who get into football, most of them into sports in general, most of them are coming from more impoverished homes, or homes that maybe, didn't have as much as some of the other people with, and they're easy targets to get sucked into this culture. There's this book I read about, which was it was a Colorado college, and there was a whole like rape thing going on there at the time. And it was and the girls couldn't sue the rapist, but they tried and successfully sued the college, or the college sports program, because they created a culture that encouraged it almost. And it's sad to see people continue to get sucked up into that. But Stephon Diggs, he played for the Patriots. The Patriots were in the Super Bowl against the Seattle Seahawks. Whoop whoop. Also because the Patriots are giving the new Cowboys, in as form as like what teams people are treating as white supremacist kind of teams, and what their beliefs kind of are. But she was with Stephon Diggs when he made it into when he was going to be one of the players into the Super Bowl, and you could see her snow covered field cheering, we're going to the Super Bowl, we made it, supporting her man, my man, my man, my man. Couple weeks later, they said, Cardi B, how do you feel about Stefan Diggs? Do you have anything to say to Stefan Diggs? And she looks at him and gives the most bruja look in her life. Looks at the camera and goes, "Good luck." Everything. And
Said you're gonna need it. You're gonna need this
the
luck.
girls who know, and the
Yes.
girls who don't know, y'all just the way that good luck was just like a curse on your soul. 'Cause
Mhm.
it wasn't like, "Oh my gosh, I want you to be so lucky in life and have great." It was like, "You're about to suffer.
Yeah, this is
Good
gonna go
luck with it."
terribly. Enjoy. Good luck.
Yeah. Enjoy it all.
Focus
And
on
you know
yourself.
what? It's I love this, and it infuriates me that when a man is dating a woman, and when he is in sports, whatever the decisions of the woman, or how he acts or behaves or is treated, plays or whatever, it's based off of this woman thing. And I kind of like the Cardi B kind of taking that power back. It also was kind of aligned with the Kardashian Curse commercial that came out for the Super Bowl, which I thought was very hilarious, because call the power back to you. That was the whole, obviously it was a sports betting thing, but the whole kind of statement was like, "Oh, you think that I have a curse, but in reality, this player just bought me this private jet. So am I the curse, or are you just funding my bills?"
Which one?
Which one? Is Cardi B the curse, or are you just funding Cardi B's tour? Have you just given her
Yes.
more ammo for people to go
Because
see her?
now all of her cheating songs, they're all going viral, like, through your phone. Like, I was
Yes.
on your phone last night, all over TikTok. It's like the videos and the stadium is going crazy because, for one, women relate. Like, we relate to dog men and any capacity, whether they be athletes, whether they be college graduates, whether they have a mattress on the floor and live in
Mhm.
their mother's basement. For whatever reason, these men have tapped into the psychological warfare of what it is like to court women and fool them. And I think Cardi is so authentic that she's taking us on that ride because let's face it, Stefan Diggs was never a good choice. I think Cardi gangs, we've all said that a long time. Like there was no way for this to end well. But she is taking us on the ride to say, like, we're going to learn together. I'm going to share this with you guys too. And it's another way in which women start to learn discernment. I hope. I hope
Mhm.
we can start teaching discernment to our girls younger and younger because the Stefan Diggs of the world, they sink their teeth even into the most confident and unabashed women. So if that can
Mhm.
happen, Cardi can happen to a lot of us. So I do think there's value in us seeing and understanding that. And there's value in Cardi being so, upfront about it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the last thing, do you think that it Cardi's being petty, or you think she's just spitting out facts?
I think she should be pettier. I think she should spit out more facts. I think she should run over this man for having 18 babies at the same time as she had a baby because I do
Mm-mm.
feel like getting someone else pregnant, while you're at your
That
most vulnerable,
is
you're going to split your body in half. You have to birth a child. You have to go through a pregnancy for a man. And he does this. I think he should
diabolical.
I think it should be like, where's the guillotines? Where's the firing squads? Where are the crowds of women who jump men who do this to women? So for me, it's like, Cardi, load the chopper, let it rain. We wanna hear it, and we also want him to be made an example of so that these men understand we're not just gonna let you guys continue treating women this way. So I hope she says more.
Heard, 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 heard. All right, we're going to get into our last topic of the day. If rest is something you're learning, not mastering, Pure Tifa Cafe was made for you. Books by indie authors, hand blended teas, candles, and rituals you can take home with you. It's a bookstore, a holistic self care space built for soft moments and real life. Visit puretifa.com to shop now and use code UNBOTHERED at checkout to receive 10% off. Pure Tifa Cafe. Take the cafe home. All right, Unbothered fam, let's talk taxes for a second because I am very particular about one thing. I like to get my taxes done early and out of the way so I can be stress free for the rest of the year. No last minute panic, no scrambling, no vibes being ruined. That's why I want to put my unbothered fans onto SSB Legacy Tax Services, LLC. Samantha is a small business tax professional whose whole focus is getting you the maximum refund while making the process clear and easy. She also offers cash advances up to $7,500, $75 referral bonuses, and actually takes the time to educate you so you know what's happening with your money. And because we are all unbothered together, I'm going to give you an in. If you text unbothered to 586-345-1055, you will receive $50 off your tax prep fees. Early, easy, stress free, just how we like it. Which is us just chit chatting and talking about. I know that when we were talking about everything, one of the things that is just kind of perfect was, does the message align? And from the time that we talked to the time that now, I feel like this has not been, we've kind of talked about this throughout the episode a little bit, but this has been something that's becoming more and more kind of apparent in the world and everything. So I want to give I want to give this space a little bit to you to kind of talk about kind of what kind of messaging you've seen. I know we talked about Nicki Minaj and how her messaging isn't aligning with her demographic group anymore, and just kind of talk about that a little more.
Yeah. Can I touch that into Cardi B as well?
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
during Cardi B's tour, she specifically called out ICE and she said, "Y'all, we finna jump ICE if they out here. Like we're gonna beat them up." And
Hmm.
that to me was such a beautiful moment because it goes beyond the traditional polite press release of a celebrity saying, "Hey, we don't stand by this," and, whatever. Again, Cardi B understands what it's like to live in the scenarios where someone is out to get you, and they will whoop your ass, and the only people that can keep you safe are your community around you. So Cardi tapped into that and said, "If ICE is outside, we're gonna jump them." Like, I literally give you permission to protect your neighbors, to protect your community, to put your own body on the line so that people know I will not let this stand.
Mhm.
That was one of the things that I loved about Cardi. That's one of the things I adore about Cardi. Even whenever her and Nicki Minaj got into that fight, and Nicki Minaj was like, "That's so uncouth. Like, we're in the upper echelon now, blah, blah." I'm more of the Cardi, like, a bitch could get slapped anywhere. I think if more people got slapped, like Donald Trump or like Kristi Noem or like Caroline Levitt, at some point in their lives, maybe not at work, but if they were called out and disciplined to a certain degree by someone they had done wrong to, maybe they wouldn't move through life so flagrantly and audaciously and make false claims all over. Cardi understands that you have to be willing to be the person to put a stop to it. Otherwise, someone else is going to take it to hell. So it may as well be you first. So for
Mhm.
me, I appreciate Cardi saying that. I appreciate her empowering her fans, and I appreciate her letting her fans now know, like, you can take care of each other. If you're documented, if you have any legal experience, step in for your brethren, step in for the stranger, and make sure that nothing happens to each other because we protect each other. Law enforcement isn't going to protect you. This government isn't going to protect you. We protect each other. So be bold, be audacious. And she brings it forward with comedy and
Mhm.
with a rigor that people can buy into. So 10 out of 10 for that comment from me for Cardi. She's a real
It
one.
her, she's been very in alignment with everything, whether women were talking off the side of their neck to her, she flew down and was like, "Oh, you wanted a fight? So
Mhm,
let's fight."
mhm. Yeah,
I resonate that with that so much. Younger me was very much like Cardi B, 100%. And older me doesn't let that side of me come out, but it still does sometimes. I mean, I'm very I like stand on business. I can get my ass kicked. I don't care.
mhm,
If
mhm,
you said you were gonna do something, let's do it.
mhm.
In
You and I
correlation
are
with
one
what
and the same.
yeah, like,
Yeah,
I don't play games, and my friends kind of know that about me. I'm known as the quiet I'm not quiet, I'm very talkative, but if I'm in mixed company, if I'm in company I don't really know, I tend to be way more reserved because 'cause I'm an ambivert, so I can be either or. Um, but I'm known to, like, flourish once I come out, but I'm also know that I don't play. I specifically don't play about my people. I've called out many people. There's a story, um, one of my friend was having a birthday party that she was not invited to because the other friends didn't invite her. And luckily at the time, that friend was like, we were all in the same area, just me and a couple of friends. And she passed out and went to sleep when I saw it. And I look at the other friend and I was like, "Oh, the party's like 10 minutes away. Let's go crash it real quick." And she's like, "What? No." And I'm like, "No, no, no. You don't get to, like, not
mhm.
invite one of your best friends to a party. Let's go like, even even the knowledge that we didn't even know that the party was happening, no, no. That doesn't slide here." So
You're one
I
of the
very
yeah.
much have, like, appreciated her keeping it 100. So in comparison, Nicki Minaj, where do you see where she doesn't align with her message or align with her people?
I think where Nicki Minaj does not align with her message or her people is specifically how she's pandering to the most oppressive regime the United States has ever seen.
Mhm.
She's been someone that stands on the messaging of women empowering themselves, women going out and getting jobs, getting education, not listening to these men, not listening to quote unquote assholes telling you what to do. But here she is bending the knee, kissing the ring, and using the brand that she's worked so hard to build to say the complete opposite in hopes of saving men who have done great harm to the women she has said she would protect or that said she would empower. That's
I
where
would
I
argue that that was who Nicki Minaj was all the time, and I think that she never aligned with her message that she was sending out to people, and I think that they what she did and what she said was always two different things, right? Um, so I've said this before. When Nicki Minaj first came out, Nicki Minaj was very more tomboyish in the way that she dressed and the way that she acted. She hung out with like the Brat and some of the more I'm trying to there's not a politically correct word to say this, but you get what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Um, and then she got picked up by Lil Wayne and everything about her changed. And one of the things that I've hated the most about Nicki Minaj is that no matter what she said, you can tell through through her music videos, that she was always pandering to the male gaze. She would say these things about women empowerment and everything like that, but all of her actions were towards the male gaze and towards whatever was going on in society and everything like that. And, I keep mentioning Anaconda. Anaconda was the song I knew I was done with Nicki Minaj because it was a song meant to celebrate thick women, women that got curves, playing off of another sampling another song, but she used it to tear down women in the same note. She used it to, again, have the male gaze fixate on her, and she created where we are now in female rap. Whereas if you don't have thin waist and big boobs and a big butt and heavy curves, you will not make it most of the time in the rap game. Shout out to Doechii for, breaking that kind of thing. And, shout out to these other rappers that are trying to get into that. But I think that that has always been a problem with Nicki. And I think that now she's just not as good as hiding it. Um, saying that though, sorry, I want to let you be able to say that and then I'll ask my question. What do you think about that?
I genuinely think that Nikki is representative of what is so dangerous about women who pretend to be allies to some degree because she did you had the wherewithal to notice these things, whereas, like, I was more of a passive fan that I wasn't picking up on
Mhm,
these things all of the time, and I think a lot of women relate to me in that way who weren't maybe watching as closely, that now have our hearts broken of, like,
mhm,
"What have I been looking at this entire time?" I think Nikki is representative of how closely we need to guard our influences and who we're looking up to and
mhm,
who we're allowing to empower us and our communities. I also think it is a great lesson in understanding just how quickly someone will change it up on you for the sake of their own, progress. And come hell or high water, it doesn't matter the battlefield that they leave behind them or the people that they sacrifice in their wake, which is why I appreciate even more now someone like Cardi's authenticity or just anyone's authenticity, anyone
mhm,
willing to stand 10 toes down in what they think. So even like, Bad Bunny was like, yeah, I'm going to give the speech in Spanish. Yeah, I'm going to, put all of Puerto Rico on the map for the Super Bowl halftime show. That I think my allegiance in terms of like money, products, the people I stream and listen to is going to fall more in that category because as I see the political landscape crumbling around me, I recognize that there's only certain actions I can take. One of the actions I can take is supporting artists who stand 10 toes down and believe in their
mhm,
people. And
mhm.
Nikki is never that. And I can't listen to any of her verses the same like I used to anymore. And it makes me sad to think that a woman that had accomplished so much would throw herself off of grace to this degree. But it's also like, hey, this seems to fit. This seems to always have been where you were going to end up and land. May as well be now so that we can see you for who you are.
I agree. You were talking about in the beginning of this is how do we warn like younger generations about this? And I think keeping more awareness of, again, does it align? Is what they're doing and what they're saying actually in the same thing? Are there so because right now we live in a world where the celebrities and influencers and creators are the things that do influence our everyday lives. Are there any celebrities or influencers or just people in general that you have felt like have aligned with you, or you see that their message aligns with who they are?
Honestly, not to land on Cardi B, but I think Cardi B does it well. I think Chelsea Handler does it well, and I draw on a white celebrity because Chelsea Handler is aware that she can't always say the right thing, that she might have some problematic thoughts, but she's okay with
Mhm.
saying like, "Hey, I don't know. I'm gonna bring this to you, and I'm gonna invite experts to teach me more." So I appreciate that vulnerability, that addressing of her own privilege, but still saying like, "Hey, I'm still human. Like, you may still hurt my feelings if you fuck around and tell me that, I'm a racist. Like, I'm coming with like my heart in my hand to learn more and educate others." So I really like her for that. I like folks like Z-Way who use their own
Mhm.
wherewithal to kind of like trip people up into allowing them to answer that for themselves. I love Trevor Noah because I feel like he brings in that comedy twist, still educational. He has ethnographic evidence because he grew up in, apartheid South Africa, but he also has a very genteel way of bringing you towards him, right? Of saying, "Hey, this is wrong. I probably think certain things about you, but I also want to invite you to this table because I know that if I invite you here, I have a better chance at persuading you and hopefully allowing you into other spaces so that you start to recognize other people as more of yourself." So I really like those guys and how they do that. But for me, I love an unabashed girl. So I think Cardi's going to take my for this. Like she doesn't have to be, a college graduate or the most eloquent woman in the world or any of it. She stands 10 toes down. She's
Mhm.
unafraid. She shows people what it's like to stand in strength in something that you believe in and know that you are not wrong. You cannot be gaslit out of this knowledge. So I like her for that.
I think that's why I'm starting to gravitate to not so big, celebrities, authors, things like that. Just because I always tell people I want to be well known. I do not want to be famous. I have zero desire to be famous. I want to be able to go to a grocery store and maybe someone's like, huh, I might have seen her somewhere, but I can still go grocery shopping. I don't want the responsibility of having to placate to other people to keep my status. And I think that is one of the hard things when you reach that certain level and that certain celebrity does really gets you. And, I made a comment about Beyonce not aligning with her message all the time, but I want to be clear that I fully respect that she has the wherewithal to know that celebrity is hard. And if the only thing that she can do to keep her mind sane, her sanity is to protect her peace and protect who she is as a person. I agree with that. I just don't think that she should do businesses in this age just because businesses in this age are fully like vulnerability and um things that way. There's this TikTok creator, I cannot remember her name, but she got big for like calling out men. Um
Drew,
she was indigenous. Yeah,
Drew, Drew
Drew
Arafalo,
Afala.
something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Um,
I
I
love her.
loved her. I think she's very, very in tune with who she is. And, I'm pretty sure some of those videos were recorded with her just sitting on the toilet. Maybe not using the bathroom, but her sitting on the toilet, just being like, I got 5 seconds. I love some of the smaller people who are creating and crafting authentic spaces for you to feel safe in, and it is harder to find that now because whether it's any medium, singers, songwriters, actors, sculptures, authors, you find a lot of betrayal. I think J.K. Rowling is a good example of a huge betrayal and her message not aligning. I I w To me, it is also, and I've said this before, it is also a comment on cancel culture and how that is actually, because it's not used properly, it's not used in a way that is meant to, it's actually creating places where people can't be authentic because they're so afraid that if they say something or they do something wrong, for instance, take Huda from Love Island. Um, if they behave in a way where they're just ignorant, not necessarily vindictive or trying to hurt people or using those terms themselves, but they just behave inappropriately in a situation, they will be forever judged on that, which is why I kind of like the Huda Beauty backlash thing because it was kind of what you did to one person, you now have to you done to you because you don't sit down and make understanding. And relating that back to J.K. Rowling, I think that one, she has a different culture. She's from a different country than us, and they have different beliefs and systems. And I think that when she started saying things, it would have been the perfect time for the world to educate. Kind of what you said about Chelsea Handler and being able to be like, okay, guys, hold on. Like, I just don't know. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to have anybody. Let me learn. But the vitriol was really quick and really fast, and I think that it helped to create the monster that she is now and how she doesn't align with the message, and what frustrates me is when people tell people to boycott Harry Potter because of it, and it's frustrating because if you've read Harry Potter, this is why she doesn't align with the message. The message is fully about accepting people for their differences. There are heavy racial tones in this movie about, half-blood, mud-blood. Those are very much comments that you will find in a lot of communities having to deal with race. It was the story of Harry Potter is so beautiful and powerful for all of the undertones that it has, that it's sad that she doesn't align with the message of her book.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. I think it for me, what it sparks is how deeply some of these supremacist standards permeate because they don't just permeate around whiteness, they permeate around sexuality, again, around being Madonnas and whores, around so many things that we don't even realize are being influenced. I agree
Mhm,
with cancel culture to a degree of like you dock somebody so that they can't make money off of the harm that they're creating. I do
mhm,
think that it's important for whatever person coming forward with their anything to come so humbly, and I think that's where, like, the difference lies. If someone says like, "Hey, I wanna say this thing, I kinda believe it, I
mhm.
grew up believing it, but I'm not really sure why, and now I have questions, but I don't wanna offend anybody with my questions." Like, I think that is different than saying like, "Women could never or men could never, and this is not a thing, so let's stop talking about it." Like, the lack of humility is causes the reaction to be so finite as opposed to saying like, "Guys, I wanna learn more." And I think a lot of people don't are so privileged that they're not used to walking into a room, placing a stake in the ground, and something happening to them. They're not used to that. When
Right.
in reality, if you and I walk into a room that's predominantly white and we come in and we put our stake in the
Mhm,
ground, we can get labeled quickly. We can be doxxed in our own ways. It's not called cancel culture, but we know that we have to code
mhm.
switch in order to avoid that, right? So, like, this exists already for plenty of people without the same privilege. So, I don't necessarily feel bad for J.K. Rowling. I do feel like the Harry Potter legacy is wonderful and should be, and should be read and whatever. But I think that
It should be shared.
as people, I think we have to come humbly. We don't know what we don't know. I have been in many experiences where I have been the person being taught, and it doesn't feel good. But if you come in with humility and with wanting to understand, people are a lot more docile and nice than we make them out to be. It's just you got to know how to come correct, you
I
know?
agree. I think to a certain extent, I agree. I do think that the patriarchy and white supremacy has kind of taken over cancel culture a little bit because I don't know if people notice this, but they things that are becoming trendy, they will take over and weaponize.
They co-opt. They
I
co-opt
have a
well.
s- I
Yeah.
I have a statement specifically about like the trans community. I personally feel like people like Caitlyn Jenner and other people who are starting to come out who contributed to the increased rise of visibility that I don't, it's definitely warranted, but it also contributed to this mass hate that we have, which is interesting if you pay attention to the big trans people that were coming out were usually white males. And usually the topic surrounds white males when we have this conversation. And then white males are the ones that are trying to bring it down, including white transgenders like Caitlyn Jenner, who is trying to go against her own community in a sense. And I think that the cancel culture was also taken over a little bit and weaponized against people of color. Um, and I think the problem is that I agree with you about the humility. You have to come humble. The problem is that and I want this to be clear, it's on all sides because I think that this is a problem that we as people of color have against non-people of color, that when they make a mistake, we instantly kind of jump down their neck. And the truth is that one, we're human. I'm gonna say something. Like the truth is, as much as I don't want it to be, I'm gonna say something about someone's culture that is incorrect. And I don't want the first thing that someone thinks about me is that I'm trying to be racist or whatever. I want the first thing that someone does is says, "Hey, yo, don't say that and tell me why." You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Do it
I
with
think
love.
that coming from yeah, I think that coming from a place of w w wanting to genuinely help create awareness about what you say and does and how it affects other cultures is so important, and I think in the future, I really want that to be the message. There are some people who deserve to be canceled because there are some people who tote around harmful rhetoric that will forever be imprinted in media and changes the beliefs of people and confuses the beliefs of people. And I think that's the bigger thing is when they're not that they are a person who makes a profit, but when they are a person who profits off of their hate, that is when it becomes like a serious issue. I don't, back when we were in COVID and the Karens were losing their jobs because they were being racist. I'm being real. I don't want them to lose their jobs because I'm being racist. Did it feel good in the moment? Absolutely. Looking at where loo- looking at where we are now, I can see how it contribute looking at, like, listening, truly listening to the belief of people who do not look like me, who do not think like me, and fully hearing what they say and realizing that, "Oh, I could see how this action contributed to where we are now, and if maybe instead of kicking Karen out of work, sent her to sensitivity training and we sent her to training, DEI train," you know what I mean? How that could have been more beneficial. And I mean, some people won't change. They just won't. Some people are want like to hate, but some people go ahead.
I was going to say, I think in the United States and other places of the world, we have a certain obsession with consequence and discipline and punishment. And
Mhm,
this is actually a part of how police and law enforcement create spaces for Latino and Black people to police their own folks because we grow up consistently being surveillance, policed, and disciplined for small infractions that we then
mhm,
grow up believing everyone else should be policed this way. So, like, that's a pipeline. Now, move that into
mhm,
culture. In the United States, we believe that in consequence and justice, like we're obsessed with it. Second Amendment, we need guns. And if someone crosses on my property, like we're just a very severe culture in terms of consequence, that it bleeds into these
agree.
scenarios when soft skills could be used. To your point, people need more education, more coddling. Yes, humility and coming, with that forthrightness is important. But
Mhm,
because it's also labor, right? Then folks like you and I have to teach. We have to put ourselves in these spaces. And let's face it, the people doing that work are often people of color and often women. And we have to take on that narrative that Toni Morrison said of explaining. Now I have to explain to you why people of color and why the things that you're saying are problematic. And I have to teach you how to move forward through my own labor and expense that you likely aren't paying
mhm.
for, that you likely didn't seek out, and that you likely don't even want to learn. So I think the hard part about that is like we need to be able to enmesh these soft skills whenever we deal with these folks.
And we see that with, like, Drew and other, creators and people who spent time trying to check, is that they end up burning themselves out of trying to be the one person that holds this burden. I completely agree. I think that a lot of what you have said are things that I've been trying to say or things some things that I haven't been trying to say. And although I'm just a little podcast right now, I hope that it gets to reach however many people need to hear this and whoever needs to hear this because I think that everything you said today was so important. Okay. Well, Thank you thank you so much, and we will talk to you guys next time.
Pure Tiva Podcast.